He once demanded the Epstein files be released to the world. Now he's defending why they're still hidden. What happened to Kash Patel? And why did Jamie Raskin's questioning turn a routine hearing into a moment that felt like justice itself was on trial? When Raskin started speaking, the room went still. This wasn't political theater. It was a reckoning. He looked across the table at the man who once called the FBI a shield for predators and asked, "Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's network. What changed?" Then came the clip. Patel, months before taking office, standing on a stage, furious. "They're protecting the world's foremost predator. Put on your big boy pants and tell us who the pedophiles are." The video played in silence. You could almost feel the oxygen leave the room.
Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale? Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and the FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
black book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the black
exactly
book
what I
under
was
the direct
talking.
control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are telling the men and women of the FBI,
Why
we're
have
not
you
going after
changed your
child predators.
position?
Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35%
Okay,
increase,
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you,
Really?
the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're
there are
talking about the
3
evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any
We're talking
idea
about
how the
evidence-
law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No,
to
I want you to
satisfy
follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black
And
book.
everything
have you released?
I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete
We
your
went
sentence.
to court.
Everything you have direct
We-
control over, you
we
said.
have gone to court, and everything we have direct
Director
control
Patel,
over
complete your
and
sentence.
can
You said everything-
lawfully
Like to
release,
the
we're
gentleman-
releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You've released everything that you have direct control over?
I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm
Go
perfectly,
look at them.
I'm
Go
perfectly
to
familiar
court.
with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005. Because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants, we were not able to develop new information. And oh, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years, and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network. If you want to blame me, that's fine. But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted this
stop
great
that.
search.
I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials under your direct control.
Has anyone released more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much
did
more.
Did Comey? Did Ray?
Much
did
more.
They?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it. But it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're talking about.
That is not.
It is a tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen everything?
It's all misdirection.
How do you know
The time
that?
of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California.
Because that clip wasn't just history. It was a mirror, and that's where Raskin began. Calm, steady, surgical. You said the Black Book was under the direct control of the FBI director. You said the names should be released. You are now the FBI director. So why haven't you released them? It was the question that echoed through every hearing, every conspiracy theory, every victim's unanswered plea. The Black Book, Epstein's list, the myth, the evidence, the forbidden truth. And sitting under oath, Patel had to face his own words. The Rolodex. Patel started using the bureaucratic term, which everyone refers to as the Black Book, has been released. Raskin raised an eyebrow. Oh no, he said. You're talking about what the journalists got years ago. That's not what you were talking about. You meant the Black Book under direct control of the FBI director. Patel's voice sharpened. We have released more material than anyone before. The Obama administration, the Biden administration, they never did this much. And if you're suggesting the FBI doesn't go after child predators, 1,500 arrested this year, 35% increase, but Raskin cut him off. That's not what I asked. You said the FBI director had direct control over those files. You said you would release them. What changed? Patel's answer was a masterclass in controlled evasion. Everything that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released, he said. And as I told you, the investigation was limited. He leaned into legalese, search warrants from 2006, court restrictions, sealed documents. To anyone listening, it sounded like protocol. To Raskin, and to millions watching, it sounded like something else. Delay, deflection, the language of secrecy wrapped in the comfort of compliance. And that's when Raskin pressed again. Wait, have you released all of the materials seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the financial records? Patel's response was a wall. Everything the court has allowed us to release. Which court? Raskin demanded. 3 separate federal courts, Patel said, raising his tone. That's not what I asked, Raskin snapped back. We're talking about the evidence you've got, not what the courts have. You said you had direct control. Patel leaned forward. Do you want me to break the law and violate a judge's order? Raskin didn't blink. No, I want you to keep your word. That silence after the exchange, seconds long, spoke louder than any soundbite. The man who once accused the FBI of hiding the truth was now defending its right to keep it hidden. But what made this moment more powerful than politics was what it revealed about power itself. Because Patel's shift wasn't just personal, it was systemic. The transformation of a truth-teller into a gatekeeper isn't an accident. It's how the system survives. Every whistleblower who joins the machine learns the same lesson. Power doesn't destroy rebellion. It absorbs it. Raskin wasn't letting go. You said everything under your control has been released. Complete your sentence. Patel hesitated. Everything that I have direct control over and can lawfully release, he paused. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault. Raskin stared, unflinching. I am perfectly familiar with them. But let's talk about Maxwell's case. How did you prosecute her? Patel's tone shifted from defensive to defiant. She was prosecuted with material from 2001 to 2005. The non-prosecution agreements limited what we could use. And the Obama and Biden administrations did nothing to investigate Epstein's network for 12 years. You want to blame me? Fine. But don't blame the men and women who conducted this work. Raskin leaned closer. I'm not blaming anyone but you. You said you'd release it all. You haven't. And then came Patel's last defense, one that summed up the entire power structure in a single line. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. That line changed everything. Because the moment he said it, it became clear this wasn't about the law. It was about who decides what the public deserves to know. You could feel the frustration boiling over. The audience watching from home, the survivors who'd spent years begging for answers, they weren't asking for curiosity. They were asking for closure. They were asking for accountability. But inside that hearing room, law and morality were on two different planes, orbiting each other without ever touching. Raskin's expression said it all. That's a tiny fraction of the material, he said quietly. A tiny fraction. How do you know that? Patel shot back. Because, Raskin replied, it's all misdirected. And with that, the clock ran out. Time of the gentleman has expired, the chair said. But no one in the room seemed ready to move on, because what everyone just witnessed wasn't a debate about procedure. It was a collision between truth and power, between a congressman demanding transparency and a director defending secrecy. And here's where the story shifts from the hearing room to something bigger. Patel's transformation isn't an isolated scandal. It's a symptom of how power works in Washington. People enter government saying they'll clean up the system. But once they're inside, they realize the system cleans them instead. It scrubs off the outrage, sands down the conviction, replaces it with the same language of legality that once made them furious. Everything that can lawfully be released. It's the perfect phrase. It sounds responsible, even noble. But in practice, it's a delay code, a shield that protects not the public, but the institution. Because lawful isn't the same as just, and permitted isn't the same as right. That's what Raskin was really getting at. He wasn't fighting over a list of names. He was fighting for the idea that truth isn't the government's property. It's the public's. Think about what this case represents. Every time someone asks for the Epstein files, the answer is the same. Ongoing investigations, sealed records, privacy concerns, jurisdictional limits. The bureaucratic equivalent of a shrug. And each of those excuses adds another year of silence for victims still waiting to see justice. Because it's not just about Epstein. It's about what institutions do when they're asked to look in the mirror. Do they confront what they see, or hide it behind another layer of redaction? The truth is, every powerful system, Democrat or Republican, has had its chance to release everything. None have. And every new administration finds the same reason to wait. We can't release that yet. It's under seal. It's an ongoing case. But how long can a case remain ongoing when the man at the center of it has been gone for years? Raskin's frustration wasn't just political. It was moral. Who decides what's safe to know? That's the question echoing through every hearing, every committee, every government denial letter. Because if the public can't see the evidence, how can they trust the outcome? What made this hearing different was that Patel used to be the one asking those same questions. He was once the outsider, furious that bureaucrats hid behind legal limits. And now, seated in that chair, under oath, he was quoting the same lines word for word. That's not hypocrisy for its own sake. It's what happens when people underestimate how power changes you. The system doesn't break rebels, it reshapes them. It offers them responsibility, authority, and then convinces them that secrecy is patriotism. That silence is duty. That Raskin's exchange with Patel cut deeper than headlines. Because beyond the politics, beyond the sound bites, there was something raw, an uncomfortable truth about what happens when ideals meet institutions. Raskin didn't need to raise his voice. His calm precision did more damage than any outburst. You once said the FBI was protecting predators, he reminded Patel. Now you're the one deciding who to protect. That line hit harder than anything Patel said in return. Because it wasn't just a contradiction, it was a confession. The hearing became a reflection of America's deeper struggle, a nation built on transparency, now suffocating under secrecy. A country where ongoing investigations have become the default excuse to keep the truth out of reach. For the victims, this isn't politics, it's personal. They're still fighting for documents that should have been public years ago, still sending letters, filing requests, hoping for justice that keeps moving further away. And each time an official says, "We've released what the law allows," what they're really saying is, "You'll get the truth when it's convenient." But the truth doesn't wait for convenience. It demands courage. That Raskin's confrontation with Patel reminded everyone watching that justice isn't measured by how many files get redacted. It's measured by how many questions we're still too afraid to ask. Patel defended his position as lawful, procedural, responsible. And maybe, legally, he's right. But morally? That's where it gets murky. Because if the law protects secrecy more than victims, then maybe it's not justice that's being served, it's power. This is what happens when transparency meets fear, when accountability meets self-preservation. The result isn't progress, it's paralysis. And that's why Raskin's line, "You're not keeping your word," will echo long after this hearing fades. Because it wasn't just about Patel, it was about every leader who promises sunlight and delivers shadows. The Epstein files have become more than a case. They're a symbol of how easily truth becomes currency in the hands of power. Everyone promises to spend it, but no one ever does. And yet, hearings like this matter, because they peel back the layers. They remind us that democracy isn't just a system of rules, it's a conversation about truth. And when that conversation stops being uncomfortable, it stops being democracy. What you just saw wasn't an argument, it was a warning. That even the people who once fought for transparency can become the ones guarding the gates to S.O. Where does that leave us? With a choice. We can accept the official lines, the court orders, the ongoing investigations. Or we can keep asking, keep demanding, keep pressing for the truth, even when it makes those in power squirm. Because truth delayed is truth denied. The longer institutions hide behind redactions and procedure, the more ordinary people lose faith that justice can ever be equal. Transparency isn't chaos, it's clarity. It's not a threat to order. It's what makes order worth trusting. And that's the real takeaway from this hearing. Democracy doesn't need protectors, it needs truth tellers. It needs citizens who refuse to stop asking, even when every answer feels like another wall. So don't look away. Don't treat this as just another hearing clip or political squabble. It's a lesson in how truth slips away when power decides what's safe to know. Ask questions. Stay curious. Keep the pressure on. Because if we stop demanding answers, the silence wins. And if you believe truth shouldn't be hidden behind seals and redactions, if you believe that sunlight is the only disinfectant, then subscribe, share this story, and keep this conversation alive. Because the only thing more dangerous than the secrets we keep are the ones we stop asking about.